Let me just introduce Matija, who's the founder and CEO of Agrivi. And then maybe let me just start with the first question, which is, Matthias, if you can just tell us a little bit more about Agrivi for whoever doesn't know what you guys do. And maybe talk us through the journey and the genesis of how you actually have gone about building Agrivi in the first place.
Thank you, Alessio, first of all, for having me here today. And welcome everybody. Also, thank you for your time, for listening to us. So shortly about Agrivi, who we are. Agrivi is a agri-tech company that specializes in producing software for the entire agri-food value chain. So our core product, what we build, is a farm management platform that is being used by the all stakeholders within the chain. For example, when farmers use our platform, we help them to get real-time insights about their production, to make agronomic, economic decisions, to be able to reach economically and environmentally sustainable production. So we really try to address their pain points. On the other side, we work with food companies that source growers that have a lot of pain points when sourcing crops from farmers, and they want to mitigate risks when they want to ensure traceability, to enable from field to fork completely traceability. So all in general, we completely specialize in building software solutions for the value chain. Yeah.
And how did you actually start the business? I mean, I guess maybe more on the personal almost level, right? How did you kind of come up with the idea in the first place, and what was, I guess, the main pain point that you were trying to solve?
Yeah, actually, when the key pain point that I wanted to solve when I started, before I started the company, was figuring out what I want to do, what inspires me in the life. And I was working for 10 years in IT industry, and went through different verticals, from a lot of business intelligence projects to IT management in retail, and ended up as CEO of mobile advertising business. And we've built a great company there. And one day I woke up and understood that I was building something that actually does not inspire me, that a bit annoys me. And just to clarify why annoys me is when you surf on your smartphone, you probably don't like when you see that full screen banner, when you need to find that X and close it. And I understood that although it was a great business, I wanted to dedicate my time, my efforts into something that inspires me a bit more. And I spent a lot of time rethinking that, what is that? And I found out that food inspired me the most as such. And to understand what I want to do with the food industry, because my background goes from computer science, from business as well. So I was not a farmer. And at that point of time, I decided to become a farmer, and I planted my own blueberry farm to understand how it is to grow your own food. And that was a great journey for me, and it is a journey that is still ongoing. So I'm still a farmer today. So my blueberry harvest starts in 2 weeks. So hopefully, the season starts and will be good. And when I started to grow blueberries, I, of course, as I come from the IT industry, I wanted to make my farm as digital as possible, as advanced as possible. And it was 2012, 2013 at that time. And what I learned was I tried a lot of different solutions, and all of them were isolated islands that don't speak between each other. So a lot of solutions like weather stations, satellite imagery that were arising, different farming apps for managing my farming data. But I realized that all of them were very specialized, and I didn't have one platform where I can have all my data. So this means I needed to log into 10 different platforms And if I wanted to just have it on one place, I couldn't have it. So the basic idea started from there, and I started to speak with a lot of farmers, first in the region, then I had a lot of interviews with farmers across the world to understand what is their thinking, and everybody said, look, if we can have all of our data and at one place and get insights right there, that's perfect for us. So it started, the journey started like that.
Oh wow, that's quite fascinating. I mean, it's a bit of a transition, I guess, from the IT to the farm, but
Yeah.
I'm sure that that allowed you to actually understand firsthand, you know, what it takes actually to manage a field, right? And secondly, bringing that kind of like tech mindset into the field was probably for you natural, but I'm sure that in your journey, you know, you have helped other farmers actually to adapt, you know, technology to the way they actually manage their fields, as well as really seeing probably the opportunities that you were able to probably grasp when you, in your days in the IT world, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's
And
really, it's really fascinating. Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, so for me, it was combining the real farm experience with building agri-tech company and food tech company was something that was always keeping my feet on the ground. So to think really not from the clouds, but really stay strong on the ground and do everything from the real life experience. So it helps a lot.
Yeah, and actually, this is and you just said, you know, you're not thinking from the cloud, but actually on the field. However, I can see there is a little bit of a pun there in terms of you know, turning the data into the cloud, but really most and foremost, I guess, helping the farmers to see the opportunity, right, of actually
Yeah.
even grasping, you know, and capturing the data in the first place. Which is actually a great segue into my second question, which was you started this company in 2013, if I'm not mistaken, when
Yeah.
I guess farmers used to use very little tech, right? And probably they were very also adverse to actually using any sort of technology in other fields besides, I guess, the usual, you know, machineries. What was actually the biggest challenge that you faced in convincing them to adopt your solution?
That's a great question. There is a fun fact. When we started to promote and advertise Agrivi towards farmers, I would say that more than 50% of inquiries that we got was, do you sell fertilizers or pesticides? Because, although we had laptop on the ad, so at that time it was still early, and there was not too much thinking within farmers about software. So I would say that the biggest challenge was to educate the market, and all of us who started at that time went through the phase of educating the market, and we could see that from year to year, when you come to the new trade show, the questions change. So first year, nobody heard about farm management software. The second year, you saw that a percentage of them already knew about it. And then in a few years, in 3 to 4 years, then everybody started to ask questions, how we can help, what do we do as a farm management company? So the dialogue changed, and educating the market, that was the first biggest challenge.
I can imagine, yeah. And I guess, was there anything there that really helped you actually to convince, if you will, in the first place, that, you know, even capturing data or having, you know, all the data of your field in one place was actually beneficial for the farmers? Was there any, like, maybe, I guess, comparison to other things that you might have to deal with in the past in the IT world that allowed you, you know, to help them to really, you know, see the opportunity, I guess, of using a farm software?
Definitely. I would say that real success stories, they help the most, especially in farming. So people believe what they see when they see other farmer that confirms that they really had great experience and benefit of using the farm management software. It helped a lot. We have farmers that increase their profitability over 100%, some of them even 300%, and that was really, really great. So when it comes to something tangible, in the end, if we cannot help farmers to make their life easier, to make more money, we are not going to work with them, basically. So it ends up on really value proposition and the benefit that we offer to them.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, again, it's all about creating value really for the farmers in the first place. Then using maybe other farmers that have actually harvested the benefits of using a farm management software to then, it's kind of like your advocates, right? To then get more farmers on board, because they really want to hear it, from farmers. And I guess also your background has helped. I mean, you managing, a farm in the first place was probably a really good starting point, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, and for us, it was really something that supported us in a way of thinking. But what we saw was that often we had experience where, for example, when we started, we gained a customer from Mexico, and they started to use it, and after 6 months, 12 months, they come and say, "Look, we like it a lot. Can we become a partner? Can we resell your product in our country?" And this was something that really gave us a lot of encouragement to continue pushing and really to expand worldwide in the end, but not just by ourselves, but utilizing the network and the network effect as well.
That's great, which I guess was also a very underpinning rationale of most IT companies, right? When it comes to making their products, viral or that again. So have you leveraged a lot of actually kind of techniques that you've taken also from the tech or IT world in also marketing, I guess, your product?
Yeah, definitely. So earlier I had a lot of experience in both referral networks and building partnership networks. So it helped a lot in a way how to form and structure our sales strategy. Although it wasn't actually so straightforward in the beginning, because as I came from mobile advertising space, so in the beginning we utilized online acquisition to attract growers, and the rationale was we are aiming at the growers that are digitized, that are currently using all the tools, and so because we are offering to them cloud solution, although cloud was something that was forbidden word in our vocabulary towards farmers.
Well, basically the clouds that you see in the sky, right? That was
Exactly. And as soon as we started actually to grow, and as soon as we started to invest more in online acquisition, we hit the roof at one point, and we couldn't grow more because we realized that we were buying 60% of global volumes on Google AdWords of farm management software keywords, and for not that big amount of money. So and then we realized, actually the awareness wasn't there. And we needed to identify routes to the market that work for us, because we couldn't. We tried also then switching to broader terms and everything, like going towards what are farmers interested in. But if you want to compete with Bayer or Syngenta on CPC for crop protection product, you cannot do that as a startup company. So we cannot play that game. So actually, we started to work a lot on content marketing. We get a lot of traffic basically to us, and a lot of inquiries organically today. But on the other side, we started to work with the entire value chain, not just with farmers. We started to explore routes to the market, how to reach growers, not going door to door, because if we cannot reach online, and there is no business case for us in going door to door, so what are other routes? And through those questions, we started to cooperate with food companies, with agronomic advisory from input companies as well. And this opened completely new doors for us. So basically our sales strategy that was initial shifted a bit. And today we sell mostly to B2B companies going B2B2C route. So through them, we get to farmers.
Wow, that's actually a journey of what, probably 7 years
Yeah.
into a couple of minutes, just to I guess explain to everyone how did you guys start it, and then how you actually have also have adapted your business model as you actually unveiled new opportunities to actually get to your end customers. That's really fascinating. I'm also a huge fan of actually deep diving into the nitty-gritty of the products, meaning I know that you guys are currently offering 3 different solutions, if I'm not mistaken. One is the farm management. The other one is cooperative and enterprise farm management software. Can you just explain us how these products actually come about and how they actually are evolving, also based on what you were just describing in terms of like getting into different routes to market?
Yeah, so this is really adding up on last things that I said. As we started to work more with the value chain, we needed to also build up the platform to support their needs, their jobs to be done, basically. And so from farm management software that was built primarily for growers, then we started to work on one side with really big scale growers. So growers that have 50,000 hectares or more. And for them, we needed to build up completely enterprise modules that are much more complex, that cover complex processes, that we needed to open up the platform to be completely integrable with ERP systems, with other ecosystem of IT solutions they have in place. So for us, from farm management platform, it extended to enterprise farm management platform, keeping things for SME growers, then building up things for enterprise growers. And then when we came to the food companies, then they said, okay, but I want to have ability to have top account, and then to have all the insights what's happening on entire portfolio of our farmers that are contract. So we needed to implement things like contract management with growers and different modules that were required by food companies for traceability, for risk management, risk assessment of growers, etc.
Wow, so you really, I guess, started from the downstream side of the supply chain, really the farmer, I mean the upstream, sorry, part, the farmers, and then kind of went down all the value chain to help also larger organizations as well as enterprises to really trace the whole supply chain and all the relationships, I guess, that they also had with all the other stakeholders. Is that right? So your product kind of evolved to serve a broader part of the value chain.
We are still very customer driven, and so we have a clear vision where we are heading. We have the roadmap, but what was from the day one very important for us was not to focus on something that farmers will be able to use and grasp value from in 5 years, but really to focus on something that delivers the value to the grower today. And this is how we prioritize the entire innovation cycle within the company.
Really interesting. So it really starts, I guess, from a request or a need of one of your customer. And then once you actually collect enough, I guess, expression of interest, and you're going to start basically trying to put that need into a feature or into like a function that actually can be accessible from the software. Is that right?
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
Interesting. Fantastic. This was just really to level up, I guess, the knowledge and get everyone up to speed with what the nitty-gritty of really the product that you're offering is all about. What would you say were actually your biggest highlight and biggest challenges that you have experienced so far in developing the business?
So I would start with challenges maybe, and then end up with highlights. For us, actually, that shift from, we call it shift from B2C to B2B business model was something that was really structural change for us. Because when you set up everything for really, I would say pure software as a service company where everything is automated and where you acquire clients online, and so there is a complete journey there. When you move more towards the enterprises as customers, so companies like Nestle, Ferrero, or Driscoll's, then you fast need to adapt all the procedures on your side. So you need to reorganize things, and it was, I would say, a two-year journey for us to restructure the business, to get a lot of senior people on board, because we had a lot of young people in our team, in our sales, and then you need to dive into really deep negotiations with the board members of a multinational corporation. So you need to get people on board that have a lot of experience in their with these kind of negotiations, and this was, for example, one thing. And then as a company, you want to stay as lean as possible in that journey, but you need to pursue like ISO certification, because big corporates require you to have that. You need to engage in a lot of insurances that you never thought that you will need to do. So a lot of things where you need to become a big guy, basically, to play with big guys. And that was a challenge. That was a lot of pains during the process, but I would say that it was really great experience for me personally, but also everybody within the company. It was life learning experience, and that's something that was great. And about highlights, I would say that the biggest highlight for me is something that comes from the vision. The vision we set when I founded the company, and this is simply, we want to change the way food is produced, positively impacting over 1 billion people. This is the vision statement of the company. And today we are already impacting a few hundred million people through our customers and everybody. So we try to measure impact if we support our customer, and they produce with the help of our product, that exact product, how many consumers in the end get the entire knowledge about traceability, about how their food was grown. And today we are really proud as a company that the impact, the footprint that we make is really global. So we operate in terms of number of customers, or customers where they're spread in over 100 countries. So really quite spread altogether. And yeah, so I would say the impact is the biggest thing that drives us.
Well, yeah, I guess again to also overcome all those challenges and hurdles that you found on your way, I guess you had to have a big vision, and and monitoring probably impact is a really good way to keep you on track, right? And really make sure that everyone is going towards the same goal as a company. And I guess there is nothing better than I guess helping people to understand where the food comes from, and monitoring and tracing and all the steps in it through data. But again, this was your vision, so it's funny just that you touched on it, because I think sometimes it's really difficult, as we get in very deep into the nitty-gritty of the solution, right? Sometimes we forget about why people actually set up businesses in the first place, and what actually is motivating people to work towards achieving that goal, especially in the tech world, and I guess in agri-food tech as well, that applies. So we focus a lot on what is the benefit, what is the return of investment that this solution is bringing to me, but then we forget that there are people behind it that actually have built these solutions for probably reasons that are even bigger than the return on the investment. But it's reassuring to hear from fellow founders also that really monitoring and constantly I guess sharing how the company is progressing towards achieving their vision. It's really, really important. So thanks actually for sharing it.
No, it's definitely you touched it quite well. It's always hard to balance between that focus on as soon as you are investor driven, and if you are a product company, you need to be, because you cannot fund the growth. And as soon as you have investors on board, you start thinking a lot about all the metrics, about possible returns, and there is a lot of conversation and discussions about that. So what we try to keep our balance is really to understand why are we doing that from the first place, and this is that keeps us in the balance altogether. And what is important also for us, for our culture within the company, we see that a lot of newcomers to the company, people that join the company, actually join us because of the mission, because of what we do and the way we do. So this is also important for us to stay there, to have clear idea of why we are doing this, and to really get the best talent on board.
That's awesome. Thanks a lot, Matija, for sharing this. I'm not going to comment any further because I very much agree with everything that you've said. And before even, I guess, focusing on the product is what motivates people, to even join, I guess, you guys on the journey of making your vision, I guess, a reality. But it sounds like you're in a really good place with that, and attracting again talent is probably the most important thing, that a CEO has to do, especially of a fast-growing company. Moving on, or actually still building on your vision, but maybe moving it on at a broader scale on the industry side. What do you think is the future of actually agriculture and ag tech? I mean, we hear a lot about regenerative agriculture these days, and I'm also a huge fan of bringing, I guess, the old practices into the new world, and potentially turbocharging them with technology where there are gaps or better ways of doing it. Can you share, I guess, your vision, maybe even like 15 years to 20 years from now, or how do you envision the agriculture sector to actually evolve?
So I'm glad that you mentioned the regenerative agriculture, because I'm a huge fan of that as well. And I would say that this is on one side my wish, but on the other side, I really believe that in this as the vision of agriculture altogether, because the awareness of everybody is rising, and crises that happen, like just the crisis that happened with COVID, put a lot of attention of actually of access to food in the end, about how it was grown, about local food production. And I'm really a fan of believing that in the next 15 years, already majority of growers will go back. I would say not forward, but go back towards the older practices with new way of thinking about it. And to be able to stay productive there, to be able to share the knowledge, it can, and especially when we speak about food safety, about traceability, and regulations that, for example, European Union with the new Green Deal and Farm to Fork strategy and everything, the regulations are just rising and rising. On the other side, it will push everybody towards more organic production, towards less use of fertilizers, crop protection products, which is good. And yeah, without tech, I don't see that possible. So tech is really the key, I would say, glue of everything that's happening, because we need to be, as a tech company, enabler. We are not the cause. We are not something. We are simply enabler to make things happen better, more efficient, faster. And I believe that currently it's the right time for everybody who is in the industry and who still wants to join the industry, because it's huge, really huge, to put their efforts. Because one of the things that one of my, I would say, secret missions of the company is to make agriculture sexy again. And this means really to attract more and more top talented people to engage in solving the global food problem and the future of agriculture.
Wow, again, this is very resonated with me, because one of the other actually missions of ours, and one of my personal as well, is really to make food tech sexy in a way,
Yeah.
mostly to tech people, just because
Mm-hmm.
I guess as you probably have witnessed in firsthand as well, most tech people that work in software development or computer
Mm-hmm.
engineering, I guess, see other industries like the financial industry as
Mm-hmm.
probably not a safer, but maybe a sexier actually industry to kind of get involved with. But
Mm-hmm.
food and agriculture is still like this like very old sort of like heritage, right? That drags along, with the industry, where a lot of people think that things are still done in a very old-fashioned way, and so it's probably even too risky, right, for tech people to get involved, with food and or agri-food tech ventures, right? Because they don't probably
Mm-hmm.
know also how big the industry is, as you said earlier, right?
Yeah.
It's never too late, I guess, because everyone has to I guess be fed at least probably 2 to 3 times a day, and
Mm-hmm.
agriculture is an industry that we're still gonna need as human as the humankind, right? And rely on.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I think you're right. I mean, tech can definitely be the glue, if you will, of different
Mm-hmm.
ingredients that can really enable like improvements in the food system as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really interesting to hear from you that you have I guess explicit visions and missions, but also personal and
Yeah.
secret ones, if you will.
No, so I mentioned that my background comes from computer science. So a lot of my friends from university and from previous companies currently, I try to bring them along, a lot of them, but often they really find fintech, ad tech, or industries that are very dynamic, where where you don't have one season per year, for example. They find those kind of industries a bit more attractive, or supercars or something like that. Yeah, so you have a lot of really great niches, verticals today, and it's really hard to attract top talents to deal with the most traditional industry ever.
Very true, very true. I think there are probably a few examples now of industries that have kind of managed, to attract also tech talents. But I
Mm-hmm.
think food tech and ag tech is definitely one to watch. I mean, it's been now, I guess, around for about 10 years at least,
Mm-hmm.
depending on how we define it, I guess. But
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely still, I think it's probably at the peak now of, in
Mm-hmm.
terms of awareness and interest from the general public. And I'm sure that we will see more and more people really. I mean, we see it also more on the food tech side of things,
Mm-hmm.
scientists getting involved with companies that are dealing with cellular agriculture or, plant-based alternative protein. So,
Mm-hmm.
you need really scientists there, to really rethink how
Definitely.
you produce, a piece of meat or, or agriculture in your case. I'm
Yeah.
mindful of time. I'm just going to ask you one more question. I mean, we've touched now on
Mm-hmm.
more personal things, so I think
Mm-hmm.
I'm allowed to ask you this. But it would be mostly, what is your piece of practical advice that you would give to someone starting out of their entrepreneurial journey, specifically in agri-food tech? And what is your biggest learning for you personally as a food tech founder that you have actually gathered along the way?
So I think that it's really critical to have clear vision of what you want to do. There are many journeys to achieve that vision, but you need to know what you want to do, and to understand that it's not about building a product. It's not about creating a company. It's really about solving problems, getting jobs done, and this is the key advice to everybody who is trying to create something, build something. Technology is not there for itself; it's to solve problems, to make life easier, and focus needs to be on really customer needs, on customer processes, and making that as efficient as possible. And this is one thing. And one of the learnings that we went through was really, really, we try to keep track on, as soon as we realize that something that we are doing is not generating the result we wanted, we shift it. We really try to identify how to do it in a different way, whether through different approach or simply to follow another journey. But in the end, we are still building up products that address the same vision, and still actually the same mission altogether from the day one, but through different approaches. And I think that it's very important to be agile altogether in your journey, not to. So I always say that we as a company, we are very stubborn, and on one side we are, but that stubbornness comes from being very persistent. We don't want anything to stop us. Really, we are just moving ahead. But on the other side, in that we are really going as the road on the mountains go, really, but towards the peak. Yeah.
So you have the pick, which is the goal, but then how you adapt, on your journey is really what makes you then successful, I guess. Being agile and flexible, yeah, and very customer centric allows you to then really create value. Because after all, as you mentioned, especially for, I guess, farmers who are known to be stubborn, I guess, right? When it comes also to adopting new things, you really need to show them that you can create value. Otherwise, they wouldn't even probably give you a meeting, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly. And actually, I remember one more thing that is one of our biggest advantages as a company. So we started out from Croatia. Croatia is a small country, really 4 million people altogether. And when you start from a small country, you immediately take a look at the global market, because you know that the market is not at home. It's too small. And from day one, this approach enabled us to build a product that works in multi-country scenario, where farmers speak different languages and farmers do not speak English language. So definitely not. And they often use different measurement units in what are common in their regions. So we can build a platform that really is fully international, localized for a lot of markets. And why am I saying this? Because when it comes to food tech, as we are going from country to country, again, when we are speaking with big multinational company, and that in big markets, but that are not English speaking markets, as soon as we come to chief agronomist, we stop in English speaking scenarios. So we need to have local people that are able to speak with those customers, and this means for us as the company that we either need to be building local sales teams, or we need to have good partners in different markets to address the market. But we cannot build the market, okay, this is the general platform, it fits all markets, it fits everything. No, actually in agriculture, it's very, very localized.
Localization, so, is one of the biggest challenges, I guess, when it comes to both, I guess, not only translating, the software, but really understanding what are their local needs and you need to address, and maybe even like changing slightly your value proposition as you need to, I guess, tackle different, I guess, crops and, the specificity of the local production. Definitely probably kind of steers, the software into a different direction, right?
Yeah, it's very important to keep track about not building 20 products from one product, but to understand how to keep technology and product management very, very aligned with everything you want to achieve. Not to let something to take you in a path where you don't want to be.
Yeah. So. Thank you, Matija, a lot for your time and for sharing all these great, actually, pieces of advice to fellow entrepreneurs, to, I guess, new people who are gonna try to embark on their entrepreneurial journey, and most and foremost, really, for taking the time to chat with us with this fantastic interview. We wish you and the Agrivi team and the growing team of yours all the best over the coming months.
Alessio, thank you very much for hosting the event. Thank you everybody for listening to us, and let's see all together how we can make the future of food better.
Indeed, that's a very rewarding and inspiring, I guess, thought, given especially the time we're living in. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Matija, again. You have a good day.
Thank you, everybody.
I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.